Hi people, it's me Anja, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is another recent reads video, and the first book that I read on this list is 5 Things About Ava Andrews, written by Margaret Dilloway. This book, I talked about it before in my book releases I can't wait for video, I think. Yeah, I did. And I was really looking forward to this book because I read Summerill of 1,000 Pies by Margaret last year, and that book was so good. Unfortunately, 5 Things About Ava Andrews didn't slap as hard. I ended up rating this book 3.5 stars, I think. It's a middle grade contemporary, and it follows Ava Andrews, and she's starting 6th grade without her best friend, and she has social anxiety, which I thought was really, really well represented. I feel like with mental illnesses, they are featured a lot in YA contemporary, which, don't get me wrong, I love, but also like people younger than the young adult audience also deal with anxiety as well, and that is equally as important to talk about, you know? So even though I found the story to be realistic and I did like Ava as a character, this story didn't really stand out to me that much, even though I enjoyed reading it. So that's why I could only rate it 3.5 stars, and it was good. The next book on this list is Ever the Hunted, written by Erin Summerill, and this is a YA fantasy book, and it follows Britta, who's chasing after her best friend after he's framed for her father's murder because she doesn't think that he did it. I really like this book. I like the fast-paced plot. It was action-packed. I like the character development. Britta is a strong, resilient, stubborn young woman without falling into any like stereotypes or anything, and the romance was great. It was really nice and really cute, and I really enjoyed it. And initially when I finished this book like a few days ago, I wanted to continue the series, and I wanted to read Ever the Brave, so I got it immediately, and unfortunately I DNF'd it because there was this unnecessary third perspective that I didn't really like. But that does not negate the fact that I rated Ever the Hunted 4 stars, and it was really, really good. So yes, this book is underrated, and more people should talk about it because it's so good. The next book that I read is called Everyday Hila, written by Kathleen, I think. This is a middle grade contemporary, and it follows Alice, who's autistic and she's trying to become more average, and her story really takes off when she makes a new friend. I like this story because A, I liked Alice's character arc, B, I love autism representation as an autistic person, and I found Alice's straightforward way of thinking and like speaking to be really realistic and relatable. And 3, I really like the friendship between Alice and her new friend. It was really solid and really realistic, and I think that Alice is such a wonderful character, and I loved, like I said, I love her lovely character arc. And this book was really short, but I never found it to be too short, if you know what I mean. But overall, I would rate it 3.5 stars because it was good and it was solid, but it wasn't anything that's like all that or like top notch, out of this world amazing, if you know what I mean, you know? So the next book is called The Paper Girl of Palest, written by Jordyn. This is a YA historical fiction story, and it follows 2 people. Alice, in modern day, who is traveling to Palest because her grandmother passed away, and she starts researching into her grandmother's life because she realizes that with her grandmother's death, she doesn't actually know that much about her grandmother. And then the second perspective is Adeline, or is it Adeline? I don't know. The grandmother, and it follows her during World War II. I really like the story. I love how Jordyn intertwined both storylines and both timelines together. And I'm gonna be quite honest, I was way more interested in Adeline's story than Alice's story, but I felt like they both balanced each other out well, you know? Like I never found myself like skipping or skimming through Alice's storyline to get to like the more interesting plot, you know? So like they flowed well together. I really liked it. The character development was great. The world building was great. Even though I did prefer Adeline's storyline over Alice's story still held her own. It was still solid, and it was still really good, so I ended up rating this book 4 stars. Next book is called The Bonds of Glass, written by Skrutskie, I think. This is a YA science fiction book, and it follows Etienne, who risks everything to save his best friend, only to discover that his best friend is the heir to this galactic empire, which is completely, totally wonderful and totally not inconvenient at all. I really like the story a lot. I ended up rating it 4 stars. The world building was sublime. The action-packed, fast-paced plot was superb. And the well-developed characters of Etienne, Gal, and Wen were also so great. And I am so excited to find out what will happen in the sequels, because I have no idea. I don't know where Emily is going to take this plot, or take these characters, or take anything, because like I have no idea what to expect. This book was so good, and it was just so solid, and also the romance was cute and angsty, and it was just so wonderful. This series has so much potential, because there's so much potential to like dive into with this world, because like since it's science fiction, there's so many things that Emily could do, and I'm so excited to find out what will happen next. And yeah, I rated this book 4 stars, and it was just really good. The last book I read is called Sick Kids in Love, written by Hannah Moskowitz. I don't know how to pronounce her name, I apologize. This is a YA contemporary book, and it follows Isabel, who has rheumatoid arthritis, and she usually writes off dating until she meets Sasha, who has a chronic illness that she has never heard of, and he understands her in a way that nobody else ever has. And I loved this book. I ended up rating it 5 stars, which I wasn't really expecting. This is a book that everybody talked about last year, and I was kind of anticipating that it wouldn't live up to its hype, but it totally did, because it is so good. I love Isabel and Sasha's dynamic. I love their individual characters by themselves. I love their relationship. I love this book. It is so good. I love the representation of like invisible illnesses that aren't like as obvious as like other chronic illnesses or other like disabilities or like anything like that, you know? I really like this book. It was so good. It's just absolutely so good. And this story is essentially what I wanted The Fault in Our Stars to be. And I know that everybody loved that book, and I didn't. But I love this book because it is so incredible, absolutely amazing. And I loved it, and clearly I can't stop gushing about it because it is absolutely incredible, and everybody should go check it out because it is so good. So in conclusion, the best book that I read this list was Sick Kids in Love. Clearly I couldn't stop gushing about it in the last clip. And the worst book I read was Everyday Hero, just because it wasn't all that, which is totally fine. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below which of these books seemed the most interesting to you. If you've read any of them, tell me what you thought. And yeah, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you're new. Bye! See you next Thursday.